Hello, I'm Silverpaw68, and I'm going to be reading Those Three Words, an 18-chapter fanfiction. It's Sonic and Tails, it's yaoi, it's romance drama. This is made by Eraser Rain on fanfiction.net, and I'll put links in the description below so you can go check out her page and the story if you'd like to read along. So I'm starting off with the first chapter. Mobius, a beautiful planet. Long green grass, lush tall trees, neat buildings, never any tear or disturbance to average life. The sky remained pastel blue throughout the summer, turned golden through autumn, chilly blue again in winter, and then pink in the spring. Never was there a gray sky, never any kind of natural disaster such as floods or earthquakes. It would seem then that Mobius was in fact the perfect place to live, and for most it was heaven. Yet for others, for a very, very small few, it was complete and utter hell. Because the citizens of Mobius, though on the outside would appear constantly cheerful and polite, always socializing with each other, making new friends every day, were holding a dark secret, causing pain and suffering and depression to that select few. Every single child of Mobius, on their 5th birthday, sometimes even before, were taught how to hate, despise these people. They were taught that these people were wrong. They were doing something terrible which never even begun. They were told stories about what had happened to these people in the past, how they had been tortured nonstop for days on end, set up publicly for everyone to watch, even to join in with the torture. They'd be beaten, jeered at, dragged around, forced to lay naked on a bed of glass, while other so-called ordinary citizens walked across them or even set them alight. That's right, they told this to 5-year-olds, and the kids, boys and girls, who were expected to nod and agree and laugh at the thought of the torture inflicted on these people. The ones who loved the others the same gender as themselves. Mobius, the planet that was thought to be perfect, peaceful, absolute heaven, was so cruelly homophobic as to torture gays to their death. Every single child, while being given the homophobic lecture, was also told that they should grow up to get married to the opposite gender, have children. Most of them, every single one for the past 60-odd years, did. 2 teenagers who had been given the same lecture almost 10 years ago were 2 best friends by the name of Sonic the Hedgehog and Miles the Fox, known to everyone as Tails because of his unique birth deformity which left him with an extra tail. It was these appendages that had spurred the friendship in the first place. It was early summer. Sonic was 6 years old, Tails was 4. Their parents had both decided to bring their children to a local playground, neither knowing that the other or their identical plans. They had arrived at roughly the same time, Sonic and his mother just a bit earlier. Sonic, who had been confident and laid back for the past 5 years, happily hurried over to the other children, his unique blue quills fluttering behind him. Anyone else would have been teased for having odd-colored fur, but Sonic's cool, confident personality seemed to push it all aside, and everyone acted as if blue fur was completely normal, though no other known creature on the entire planet had coal blue fur. Tails was a lot more shy, clinging to his mother desperately at the point of the sight of a large group of children in front of him. All happily chanting and playing together, Tails shrank back and shuddered at the thought of rolling around on the dusty ground, playfully fighting with the other boys. Ugh. Even the neat girls scared him a little, with their giggles and chatter clumped in small friendship groups. "Go on, Tails, honey," his mother urged. "Go and play with the other children." Glancing fearfully up at her, Tails swallowed, chewing his glove anxiously. He was given a gentle push of encouragement from his mother, and she smiled at him as he walked away, gazing longingly over his shoulder at her as he walked slowly towards the playthings. Most children hung from the climbing frame or lay in the long grass, or sat on the roundabout. Tails looked over to his left, at a row of little swings, their seats red. It was about the only place that didn't have another child near it. Tails toddled over, hoisting himself up onto the nearest crimson seat. He clung to the ropes tightly, as if afraid that he might fall off. For a while, he just sat there, swinging his short legs slowly. Then he gave a tiny kick that pulled him forwards a little, and sent him swinging backwards. He gave a slightly bigger kick this time, thrusting his stumpy legs out in front of him. He was just swinging backwards again when he came to an abrupt halt, suspended in midair. Tails gave a quiet gasp as he felt himself begin to slide off the plastic seat. He gripped the ropes desperately, before being shoved hard, sending him careering towards at incredible speed. A long squeal escaped his mouth as he was given another strong push and sent even higher. He heard laughing behind him, obviously from other kids who decided to pick on him for fun. This time, his tail swung back. The swing seat was grabbed and tipped over, so he slid right off into the mud. He sat up trembling, and then started to cry, burning his blue eyes into his fists. His tormentors jeered more. "Aw, don't cry, little freak!" The boy who had said this walked slowly towards Tails, circling him carefully. He stood still as he reached to the back of Tails, grinning like a maniac. The kid grabbed both of Tails' tails, tugged them hard so Tails was pulled backwards. "Ugh," the boy said. He lowered his head to whisper in Tails' ears, "Don't you know anything? You're not supposed to have two tails, stupid." He hissed as if Tails had chosen to have two of them. "Oh well," the boy carried on, "I guess we can fix it." He seized Tails' tails in both hands and tied them into a tight knot, causing Tails to yelp in pain, which only made the kid pull harder. All of his friends, plus more kids, laughed and jeered at the fox, some even coming even closer to poke him and tug his fur. From where Tails' mother was, it looked as if Tails was simply making friends. The leader, the boy who tied Tails' tails, was now kicking at him and telling others to join in. One even stamped on his tails, causing him to cry out in pain. "Hey!" came a small but demanding voice. "Leave him alone!" Several children were shoved to the floor, some being trampled on. The leader kid was punched right across the face, knocking him to the ground. Sonic scooped Tails into his arms and carried him out of the crowd and of scattering kids. Both mothers hurried over as they saw Sonic cradling the sobbing Tails. Laying the young Kitsune on the ground, Sonic gently untied his tails, smoothing them out. Tails scrubbed at his eyes, sniffing. His mother ran over and scooped him up into the arms. As Sonic's mother grabbed her son's hand, Sonic continued to stare up at Tails, cocking his head slightly to the side in amazement at the sight of him burying his head into his mother's shoulder. "Dude, you okay?" Sonic asked quietly. Tails turned his head and looked down at Sonic. "You don't say much, do you?" Sonic observed. "My name's Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog. What's yours?" Tails sniffed. "Tails," he replied quietly. Sonic grinned. "I think your tails are cool. It's a cool name, too." Both parents watched in awe as slowly a friendship was formed by Sonic's never-ending chatter and Tails' shy nods. Sonic turned to his mother. "Hey, Mom, can we have Tails come over to our house to play?" That's the line that sealed the friendship. During that house visit, a lot of things were discovered, but that's a different story for another time. Now, the two of them were teenagers, Tails 14, Sonic 15, and it was early January. They'd started school again just last week. Although Tails was a year younger, they were both in the same class because of Tails' genius, which had moved him a year forwards, and it had been that way since they both started. Of course, they had other friends, but really preferred the company of each other. It was Saturday, and Sonic was around at Tails' house. They actually lived next door to each other, but were constantly together at one another's houses. Today they were doing what they usually did, laying on their stomachs on Tails' bed, playing video games. Sonic laughed as he sensed Tails' character flying off the screen. "You're gonna have to try harder than that, buddy," Sonic grinned. He glanced across at Tails, who was staring at the floor, deep in thought. "Tails, you're not even trying. It's no fun beating up something that doesn't fight back." "Tails?" He gave the kid a nudge. "Tails!" "Huh? What? Are you playing the game or what?" Tails sighed, rolling over and tossing his controller to the side. "I don't want to play anymore, Sonic." Sonic raised an eyebrow. "Why not?" "Sonic, we've got homework." "You'd rather do homework than play video games?" "No." Tails sighed again, sliding off the bed, sitting on the floor. Sonic sat next to him, switching out the console off. "Tails, what's wrong, bro?" Tails shook his head, glancing at his big brother. Sonic had started calling Tails little bro when he was 7 and the fox was 5. They had a closer bond than most brothers, and Tails adored being called little bro by Sonic, so it stuck instantly. Sometimes they just shortened it to simply bro. Both being the only children in their families, calling each other brothers seemed to join them as a family. "Oh, it's nothing, Sonic," Tails replied, making circles on the ground with his foot. Sonic tilted his head to the side in sort of a "come on" face. "Tails, I haven't known you for 10 years without getting to know you. Tell me what's wrong." Tails shook his head again, more frantically this time. "It's nothing, Sonic. Honestly, it's not." Sonic sighed this time, reaching over to the backpack he brought along, pulling out a thick pile of books. "Fine, alright. What's first, history or Sonic?" Sonic turned to Tails, his emerald eyes widening as he saw Tails' own eyes were brimming with tears, which built up, eventually spilling down his cheeks. Tails, though he was sometimes soft and usually quiet and very emotional, hardly ever cried, but now he stared helplessly at Sonic, tears flowing down his muzzle, sobs choking him up. Sonic gaped uselessly as Tails continued to cry, silent apart from several odd, choking sobs. It's not nothing, Sonic." Sonic stared at the ground, sighing. "Yeah, I kinda guessed that," he said quietly, turning his head towards the window. He looked back at Tails, who now had his head buried in his arms, crossed across his knees. Sonic reached out, patting Tails awkwardly on one shoulder. Tails! Come on, Tails. You can't do this without telling me it's wrong. I'm sure it can't be that bad. It is. You hate me. Everyone will. Tails, dude, listen. There's nothing on Mobius that could possibly make me hate you. Out of 10 old years of being best friends, we've never fallen out before, so what makes you think this will completely break us up? And, even if it is that bad, and I do hate you, I won't stop being friends, even if it means everyone will hate you too, so tell me! Oh, Sonic, Tails raised his head. His eyes were shining with unshed tears, muzzle stained with those before. The teenage Kitsune lowered his head in shame out of himself. He sighed deeply, not wanting to admit it at all. Of course Sonic would hate him. Everybody would. I'm gay, Sonic, he whispered bitterly, shuddering as he finally confessed. End of Chapter 1. I'll see you guys in Chapter 2. Have a great day.